6.2 million tonnes of asbestos lurks within Australian workplaces, public buildings and homes. The ACTU is part of a campaign to get the dangerous material removed. Assistant to Secretary Liam O'Brien joins us with Brian Healy, who was diagnosed with cancer after exposure to asbestos. Good morning.
Brian, Liam, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks very much for coming in. Brian, what was your experience like being exposed to asbestos and how has it affected your daily life?
Being affected, it was a complete shock at the start. I've gotten over that. I was diagnosed 6 years ago, so I've learnt to live with it. People ask me, do I think about my condition? And I say to them every day, but I don't dwell on it. I just think about it for a short time and then I move on with my life.
How were you exposed to it?
I work with the old State Electricity Commission down at the Lawn, in the old power stations down there. And in 1979, 1980, they were frantically removing all this asbestos from the old power stations with very little to no PPE at all. And it wasn't for the unions. The guys that were removing it would have had nothing. I wasn't removing, but I was a fitter at that time, so I may have been 20 metres away from where these guys were pulling all this asbestos off the pipes, and the dust was everywhere. You could not go anywhere within the old power stations without asbestos dust, and I was in that environment for about 22 months, and then I finally left. I couldn't see myself working there for the next 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, gee, understandably. So, Liam, on that front, take us through the campaign being backed by the ACTU regarding asbestos and, importantly, its removal from sites.
Look, as you said at the start and as Brian's revealed, asbestos is everywhere and we've got a lot of it out. What we see today is that asbestos products in our built environments, in our homes, our schools, our public buildings, is really old. Some of it's at least 40 years, some of it could be 50 to 100 years, and that means it's degrading. So the risks we've got in the coming generations are actually, in some respects, far more serious than they have been in the past. And what this plan is about, it's about having a planned, prioritised removal approach, because we've got to get 6.2 million tonnes out, and 28,000 lives will be saved if we can get it out quicker.
And how do we do that? Is it government, the construction industry? How do you see this working?
This plan's got a range of measures. The first thing, it's really important, is that we start to change our work health and safety laws. Our work health and safety laws actually place restrictions on how asbestos is removed. So that's one of the key things we have to do. One of the other things we've got to do is we've got to stop the unlicensed removal, because what we've seen, indeed some of the stories in recent weeks, is really about how we're not controlling the removal, and removing those sort of loopholes that permit unlicensed removal is going to ensure that those workers that are doing it are going to be safer, but also that we can manage the waste and the community's not exposed.
And for you, Brian, how important is that regulation of the removal of asbestos? I mean, I guess in the decades past, we've actually learnt so much since then on the safe way to do this.
Yeah. Look, I don't want young people going into an industry where there is asbestos still there and they end up like I did. I don't want that. So the sooner we can get it out, the quicker we can get it out and remove and dispose of it, the better it's going to be for the next generations coming through.
Well, Liam and Brian, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we'll stay across this campaign certainly as the months go on. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.